Okay, so to follow on to the firebox, so I'm the camera down now, around now, I can see you've got the sticks at the bottom of the ash pan, there. Got to move it in position now and again. Okay, now once that's burnt off and produces the ember, it will still keep the heat at the bottom of the firebox. Okay, so if we look inside, I don't want to move my camera too close because it is really hot. You can see the embers that I'm getting at the bottom of the firebox. So there is no waste in fuel. So what I've done is I've put a log that is probably what 4 inches taller than the firebox, and I've just put it right smack bang in the middle of the embers, and I'm going to see how long that's going to burn for and how much heat is generating from the firebox, if you wanted to use it as a primary heat source. So it's just an experiment for today, and basically it's an experiment to keep them embers burning at the bottom of the firebox. Okay, now let's have a look. Now I don't know if this log is probably it seemed dry, but I don't know how wet it is in the middle of the log. It seems to be burning at the bottom, as you can probably see without burning my phone. So we've got a nice slow burn at the bottom, nothing on this side as of yet, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what kind of embers that we can build from that, and see what time it is till it burns. So I'll keep uploading short videos on the progress and get my head around this firebox ember problem that nobody appears to have mentioned before. Now the firebox can be used as a primary heat source, so for all intents and purposes, if it is designed as a primary heat source as well as cooking your food obviously, then it should be able to take the heat that I'm subjecting it to, especially the ash down at the very bottom. Obviously, because it's, if you see my previous video yesterday I did, that was the main problem, is that the holes in the base plate here, which is just below that wood feed there, has large holes about that big, and what happened was it was burning the wood at a very accelerated rate, and the embers formed from the wood was falling through the large gaps in the base plate. Again, I don't know why they made holes that big, but it stops the firebox from producing that hot ember that is used obviously to relight your fire, cook your food on, cook your steak on, or etc. And so I was never going to get lots of embers and hot embers that's going to last, which is, if you're using it as a primary heat source as well as cooking, then you need hot embers constantly there, so that the fire can easily be relit every time you chuck your wood on it. And I just wasn't getting that with the firebox, because like I said yesterday in the video, if you leave this firebox unattended, look, I'm not mean walk away in the wood for an hour and leave it. I meant still say like I am now talking on the video, and you're leaving the firebox unattended, and you forget about it, you forget to put the wood on it. Within probably 5 minutes, sometimes even less than that, I've come back to the firebox and it has gone out, because there is no embers at the bottom that's sustaining the wood that I'm putting in there. So I'm feeding it. I know what a lot of people thinking now, well, why don't you just get slow burning wood? You know, like oak that burns a lot hotter. Or pine. I mean, pine's not really a slow burner in my opinion. Yes, you can get a red hot fire using natural pine because of the resin content in the wood. But pine actually, to me, in my experience, it actually burns it quite quickly. So if you go with the much, say, harder woods like maybe ash and oak, they tend to burn for quite a long time. But pine, yeah, it burns through pine quite quickly unless you put really thick logs on it. But I still wasn't getting that ember on my firebox. And like I say, I've looked on YouTube, but I've never really come across anybody else mentioning that. They all say what a good thing the firebox is and how easy it is to use, and it is easy to use, very easy to use. But those holes at the bottom of the base plate, you know, that comes down when the whole thing unfolds, I really don't know why they put holes in that big, because you're never going to get them sustainable embers that you really need to keep the fire going or cooking. I mean, you know, like I say, if you don't keep feeding the wood through this fire and you're cooking a nice juicy steak, and then within a minute or two the embers have completely gone out and turned to ash, and then the ash is then obviously dropped on the ash plate underneath and it's completely gone out. So you need them embers there to cook your food, to relight your fire. So all you have to do is just throw a few sticks in now and again and it relights. But if there's no embers there in the first place, you're never going to get that, never. And if it completely goes out, you're pretty much knackered, because you've got to start all over again. And what I mean is just start from all over again. I mean, you do have to start all over again. I mean, you start from the beginning with your tinder and your kindling, like you did when you first used it. And you know, I don't know about you, but you know, at 12 o'clock at night or whatever, I don't want to be trying to relight a fire in the dark. Obviously I can do, because I've done it many times, but I don't want to be faffing about if it's cold, wet or whatever. You know, I want the embers to be there constantly, without I should say, where it isn't possible to have an open fire, maybe because you're in a permissional wood, but they say you're not allowed a wildfire, open fire, but you are allowed obviously a firebox stove. Okay. But yeah, that's the number one problem. It is a cracking stove, don't get me wrong, it is superb. The thick steel, the gauge steel that they use is really spot on. Yes, the firebox can warp over time, like most stoves do. I've never known a stove that doesn't warp over time, but that's easy remedied. Can't speak right today. And the warp is not that bad, unless you put the fire out by force, by tipping a load of water on the firebox, which I don't recommend. Then the warping that happens with a firebox or even a bush box is very minimal, very minimal. I've not really experienced a problem with this, and I've had this for a few years now. I've never really had that problem with it. But if you leave your firebox still burning red hot and it does happen to rain and you've not got the firebox on the shelter and it rains on your firebox, yes, it's going to cool the steel down very rapidly, and everybody knows probably from a scientific point of view what happens to very hot metal that cools down very rapidly. It will cause it to bend and warp. Possibly the hinges warping as well, so you won't be able to fold down the firebox or the bush box or whatever kind of steel you've got, stove you've got, sorry. So yeah, it's just a quick update, just experiment with the firebox, which I've not really done for a while really, and see what I can do to keep them embers burning. Okay, so another really quick video for you. Thanks for watching. Hopefully it gives you some ideas. Take care.